On a stormy night, the winds howled through the ancient oaks surrounding Blackwood Mansion. The estate, a sprawling Gothic structure, stood isolated atop a hill, its windows like dark, soulless eyes staring into the endless night. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of old wood and secrets long buried. Lady Eleanor Blackwood, the matriarch of the family, had invited her estranged relatives to the mansion for a long overdue gathering. The invitation was as mysterious as the woman herself, with each guest receiving a handwritten note, inked in her elegant script, beckoning them back to the place they once called home. Rumors swirled among the family members, whispers of a hidden fortune, a legacy, or perhaps an apology for years of silence. As the storm outside raged on, the family gathered in the grand parlor, a room that seemed frozen in time. The walls were lined with portraits of Blackwood ancestors, their painted eyes watching with an unsettling intensity. The fire crackled in the massive hearth, casting flickering shadows that danced across the room. Lady Eleanor, with her silver hair pinned neatly, sat in her high-backed chair, her cane resting beside her. She greeted her guests with a faint smile that didn't reach her cold blue eyes. "Thank you for coming," she said, her voice as smooth as the velvet curtains that draped the windows. "I know we've had our differences, but tonight we are family once more." The guests exchanged uneasy glances, unsure of what to expect. There was William, the bitter younger brother who had always envied Eleanor's inheritance, Margaret, the distant cousin who had fallen on hard times, and Edward, the charming nephew with a shadowy past. Each had their own reasons for accepting the invitation, and each harbored their own suspicions. As the night wore on, the atmosphere grew tense. The conversations were stilted, filled with half-truths and veiled accusations. But it wasn't until the clock struck midnight that the true horror began. The lights flickered and then went out, plunging the mansion into darkness. A gasp echoed through the room as they were enveloped in pitch black. Suddenly, there was a loud crash, followed by a scream that was abruptly cut off. Panic set in. The guests scrambled to find a light, their movements frantic in the darkness. When the lights finally flickered back on, they found Lady Eleanor slumped in her chair, her throat slit, and her lifeless eyes staring blankly ahead. Her cane lay on the floor, a dark pool of blood spreading beneath it. The room fell silent, the only sound the relentless pounding of the rain against the windows. The guests stood frozen, their minds racing to make sense of what had just happened. Who among them could have committed such a gruesome act? Edward, his face pale, was the first to speak. "The doors, they're locked. We're trapped in here." Margaret clutched her pearls, her hands trembling. "But who would do this? Why?" William's eyes narrowed, suspicion creeping into his voice. "Isn't it obvious? Someone wanted the Blackwood fortune for themselves." The accusations flew, each guest turning on the other, their true colors revealed in the face of death. The once distant relatives were now adversaries, trapped together in a mansion filled with secrets. As the storm raged outside, the mansion became a battleground of wits and survival. The guests knew that the murderer was among them, but with no escape and no trust, they were forced to confront their darkest fears and hidden desires. In the end, only one truth remained. In Blackwood Mansion, the past never stays buried, and the sins of the family will always come back to haunt them.